Leeds, inaugural cup winners. Chris Economides wins the cup for Melbourne Victory. Sydney FC then win the cup, and MacArthur for the second time are Australia Cup winners.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Darwin. Yes, it's that time of the year. It's the Australia Cup playoff matches for the A-League sides not involved in finals fever at the moment. And of course, if you are in Darwin for the Australia Cup playoffs, it means that your A-League season did not go entirely according to plan. That's certainly something new for the Central Coast Mariners. They have missed finals football in the A-League for the first time in 5 years. Just a year on from that historic night of the treble in Gosford, all the way here to a very hot Darwin in the Northern Territory. It's a familiar city, a familiar trip for their opponents, Perth Glory, this evening, who are participating in their 5th consecutive Australia Cup playoffs match, having picked up their 3rd wooden spoon in the last 4 years. It's the first ever cup meeting between these two sides, a 61st in all competitions, 57 in the A-League, 3 in the old pre-season cup, and the Central Coast Mariners are undefeated in their last 4 after 2 draws and a win against Perth this season. And this, of course, for these A-League clubs, the state-based clubs, the federation member clubs, have already begun, many of them, their journey towards what they hope will be silverware with the 2025 Australia Cup. But for the A-League clubs, for 4 of them, it starts here in this midweek playoff round in Darwin. Let's have a look. Before we look at the two teams, we're going to have our welcome to country. Well, there are our two sides then going through the pre-match protocol. Big night for these two sides who have had difficult campaigns already. And now perhaps let's have a look at our two starting lineups then for this evening. Well, for Mark Jackson and the Central Coast Mariners, there's no captain, of course, Trent Sainsbury, after he underwent surgery to repair his Achilles. There's one change from the side that lost its final A-League match of the season, 2-1 against Brisbane. Young defender Diesel Harrington is replaced by young playmaker Miguel De Pizio. He comes in as the Mariners switch from a 5-4-1 to a 4-2-3-1. DePizio will play just behind the lead striker Alu Kuol. It could also be, most likely, Brian Kaltak's final game for the Mariners. Well, for their opposition, Perth Glory, David Strilic has a raft of injuries to deal with, almost as long as his arm. He has gone with the same starting 11 that beat the Wellington Phoenix 2-0 10 days ago in their final game. They've won 2 of their last 3 in the A-League. They've got the Englishman Luke Amos in the middle of the park. He scored their goal of the season against Brisbane, while their most glorious player, Adam Taggart, with 10 goals and 4 assists, will lead the line in attack, assisted by Jalen Pearman, the youngster, the Asian under-20 champion, on his way to QPR after this match. Well, there is the Englishman Mark Jackson, the coach of the Central Coast Mariners. Used to play his football at Leeds United with the likes of Harry Kewell and Mark Viduka. Danny Schofield, his assistant coach, alongside him. It's been a very trying second season after the glory of last year's treble. A difficult campaign that struggled to get going and then never really got off the ground. Same could be said for David Strilic, whose side was free scoring when they came through the Australia Cup playoffs and into the Australia Cup all the way to the round of 16 last season. But that opening game defeat to MacArthur by 6-1 was like a thunderclap around the club. And they changed more or less half their starting lineup during the January transfer window to little avail. They did have a little turn up in form in the last few weeks of the season. Those 2 wins in the last 3 over Adelaide and Wellington as well. But it remains the lowest ever points tally of 17 points in an A-League season for Perth. 1 point worse than their previous lowest of 18 back in the 21-22 season. But they have a chance to finish the season on a positive note. It is a very warm night in Darwin, 30 degrees Celsius at kickoff. And it was 33 earlier today, but the sun has gone down. It's pretty dry conditions as well, so hopefully it won't be too taxing for the players. And we are all set for the start. And it will be Perth to get us underway. Wooden Spooners in the A-League, 13th in the A-League against 10th, the Central Coast Mariners. Their journey in the Australia Cup 2025 begins here for the Mariners. The first trip to Darwin, the outgoing champions, missing finals for the first time in 5 years. Their opponents, Perth, are very much a playoff powerhouse. They have not missed an A-League's, rather Australia Cup playoffs tournament since its inception 5 years ago. And of course, none of that will matter, Eric Partaloo. If they get the win here, they can go off on holidays and, of course, have some competitive matches in that long pre-season.
Yeah, good evening, Robbie. As you see, Perth just stepping forward here. Yeah, both teams have not had great seasons in the A-League, but for the Australia Cup, we know as well, last year, both being cup set by non-A-League sides. So even just getting past this point and getting into the round of 32, they will face stiff opposition from NPL sides and from other A-League teams. But, you know, I think in terms of this game, Perth Glory probably finishing the better, winning 2 out of the last 3 games. So they'll be full of confidence for a team that's finished last.
Yeah, certainly the Central Coast Mariners just 1 win in their last 15 matches in all competitions. Here's Hahn Eames having that early shot. The youngster, 17 years of age now. He has been one of the real positives of this Mariners season, alongside Alfie McCalmont in the middle of the park.
And they've got to keep hold of some of these players as well. We talk about the Mariners doing well in Asia last year. Well, don't forget, the Hahn Australia Cup is another entry point into Asia. So it can be very lucrative and it can be very taxing as well, as the Mariners know too well.
And here come the Mariners on the front foot with De Lima. And it's deflected behind for a first corner of the contest. There is Arthur De Lima. He's finished in very good scoring form the last few weeks of the season as well. Scored against MacArthur and Brisbane in the last 2 games of the campaign. Delivery in is a good one. There's a header there. I think it was De Lima. In fact, it was Miguel De Pizio who got his head on that ball that went up in the air, claimed by Ollie Sale.
It was something they were really good at against the Brisbane Roar, was attacking set pieces, had a lot of different variety in the way they were trying to navigate, but defensively they have a lot to work on, I think, the Mariners, and particularly, you know, all over the park. But next season, no Brian Caltech, as we believe. Trent Sainsbury, big question marks over his fitness. You know, where will they spend their time and energy in the transfer market?
They're on the front foot again here with Kuol. That's a great challenge by Murchula. Sliding in on Alu Kuol. Pierman now. Back with Mizal. All the way to Ollie Sale. Rumours that Ollie Sale could be on his way, but he's not one of the many players out of contract at the end of the season. This could be the last game. We know that Jalen Pierman is heading to Queen's Park Rangers in England. We know that Brian Caltech is keen on a move, has announced to the club that he'll be leaving at the end of this season. But there are many other players, the likes of Theoharis, Nathan Paul at the back, Duarte, Brantman, McCalmont. Here is Caltech. That's for the Mariners. For Perth, even more players. David Williams, who's been out for so long, but Murchula, Amos, Mile Uznic, Lockie Wales, who's out injured, Riley Warland, Murder-Kudus. Some of these players only just arrived in January as well, short-term contracts. Pat Wood, who's missing with injury as well.
Yeah, I think when you're not winning games and you're down the bottom of the table again, particularly for Perth Glory, it's very easy to get into that mode of hitting the reset button, but resetting everything. You know, for David Zulic, thankfully, he's going to be at the helm next year, being able to have that second-year syndrome, if you like. And, you know, for Perth Glory fans, they hope they can get that right. But for the Mariners, they've got a lot of work to do.
And it's given away very cheaply as well. Square ball. Taggart trying to get there. And the young teenage goalkeeper for the Mariners, Parage Cullen, does well. Brantman can't keep it in. Just squeezing away as he tried to turn on the touchline there. And it's going to be a throw for Perth with Takuyo Akamoto.
And we're using a new ball tonight as well. The Mitre ball in the Hahn Australia Cup, and looks as though it's playing okay. I wonder if the players had more than the session they had yesterday. It was an open training session for an hour, so some of the fans could come and watch them train, which was nice to see the local community get it to engage with some professional players.
Here is De Pizio on that left foot, looking to fire, and now Perth can't break. Paul all the way back to Parage Cullen. I managed to get my hands on one of the final balls from last season's final. Rather fortunately, just fell into my lap. But that had all the clubs that played in the competition, over 700 clubs that take part each year in the Australia Cup, all printed on the side of the ball for the final. And this ball has the colours of all the previous winners in the
chevrons.
Delta chevrons, exactly, the Mitre chevrons that are along the side of the ball, the famous chevron.
You're not using that ball down the park on the brick wall, are you?
It might have been kicked into a school and I never saw it again. Akamoto all the way back to Ollie Sale. Been a difficult year for Perth. In front of goal, the worst attack of the A-League season. Likewise for the Mariners. They had the second worst attack, so these two sides, we'll see if goals are hard to come by. Opportunity for Osler, trying to find a shooting opening, and he did so in the end blocked by Nathan Paul.
Looks like an offside there, just coming back from an offside position, but there was way too much time for Okamoto on this right-hand side for Perth Glory to set and deliver something into the box. And then it was a really good block from Nathan Paul coming out there. Ostler's had a good end to the season, does well to try and get him across and have a shot at goal. Maybe that extra touch just let him down at the last moment.
Caltac with Mikael Docker. He gets it back. Docker, who's been playing mostly as a wing-back or right winger for much of this season. He's a very versatile player. He had a good campaign in a difficult side. 3 goals and 7 assists for him. Here's Caltac. And he goes looking for Docker on that far side with Eames. Eames, who scored against Perth and MacArthur. Tapizio gives it away. Okamoto taking over. Tapizio again putting himself about in the challenge, but giving away the free kick.
He made a really good run there to try and get involved in the playing out from the Central Coast Mariners, but unfortunately just couldn't get the ball to stick. In these hot conditions, you're going to have to use the ball really well tonight. We can see here Okamoto again getting the ball. Tapizio just really going in the back of him. It's a silly foul to give away, and particularly with the way that the Mariners have been defending set pieces. It's a silly spot.
The free kick with Jalen Pearman and Will Freeney standing over it. 2 of the young guns that have held their own in David Strilich's side. In it comes. Back post. The header away by Moragas. It'll be a throw for Osler. Perth straight back onto the front foot. Mizau. It's a good run down the left. Ball in is excellent as well. The glancing header. Adam Taggart. You'd expect Taggart, a player of that calibre, to hit the target from there.
I think he's got to score from that position. It looked like a really good ball in. Great shape on it. And getting yourself in between the defender and the fullback is exactly where you want your number 9. It looks like Paul just got a little touch at the end.
Yeah, headed on to Marcella, I think.
And that was the reason why he couldn't get any purchase on it. But good positioning and good ball in.
Apologies, Adam Taggart, who probably would have scored from there if he'd got his head on it.
Well, he's been in great form at the end of the season, and for another wooden spoon season, it's like, you know, what would he be like in another club?
Yeah,
in a top 6 club.
Golden boot last year in a wooden spoon performance for Perth. Moragas with McCalmont. After a bright start from the Mariners, it's Perth that have had the better of the last 5 minutes or so. Docker with Caltac. Docker again up the line towards De Lima. A little nudge. Referee Lachlan Kivas sees nothing untoward. Mizau, they're going backwards, Perth, and they've played themselves into a bit of trouble. Good challenge from Amos in the middle of the park.
Yeah, it's probably about this time of the game where teams will look to settle down a little bit. Perth Glory in the last couple of weeks really looked comfortable in possession playing out, and particularly with this pass there down the end to the runs of Pearman and Taggart have done really well combining and supporting each other. I think they're going to miss Jalen Pearman next season. He's been really good this year.
Well, they lost Daniel Benny last year, another youngster who went off to QPR. Moragas coming inside, can't get away from Okamoto. Majeka Dumni alongside Murchula in the centre of defence. It's a good ball in. Mizau is bouncing around, and you've got to be careful when you've got Alu Kuol.
Yeah, you're not sure
ferreting about.
You're not sure where he's going to end up, are you? It was a good ball in from Brantman. Just needed somebody across that first post, and sometimes that's Alu Kuol's a little bit isolated up there by himself, making runs, and they need more than one number getting in the box. Central Coast Mariners. if it is Brantman putting it in, you need Lima coming in across the other side.
Foul by Nathan Paul on Adam Taggart, coming deep, looking for the ball. Here's Freeney, still looking for his first team goal. Will Freeney hasn't been far away in recent weeks. Thought he had it, indeed, only to be denied by an offside flag. Okamoto back with Murchula. Now with Majeka Dumni, who made his breakthrough last season but hasn't featured much this campaign. Perth Glory using more players this season than any other side. 36 players in the end, all used in the A-League season.
Yeah, I wonder what the mentality is going to be for the coaches of all 4 A-League clubs today and tomorrow.
This is Pearman for Taggart. Can shoot with both feet. It was well blocked again by Kaltak. Hahn Eames just gives it straight back again.
You know, do you try and build on something from the end of the season? Do you try and look at new ways to play for next year? It's only a couple of months away, and it wasn't that long ago we were complaining about not having competitive fixtures in our football calendar, and it's really, you know, great to see now only really the month of June that A-League teams do not have a competitive match. So if they can progress here, one of these 2 teams, then you pretty much got your pre-season sorted.
And that is one of the things that many coaches bemoan as well, particularly if you luck out here and you're in an isolated, you know, an Adelaide or a Perth or across in New Zealand. It's not easy to find opponents of an A-League standard to play in pre-season friendlies as well, because there's a bit of a logistical nightmare unless you take your squad to a new training centre for a couple of weeks on the east coast of Australia to try and get some friendly matches.
And I think that's what's going to be so interesting to see tomorrow night when Brisbane Roar take on Wellington with Michael Valkanis' first game in charge. What changes has he made in his first week? You can't really change a lot, to be honest, but it'd be interesting to see how they go about things. What's the level or the shift in style going to be?
Here's Pearman again. That one deflected wide, I think, and out for a corner.
It's been a good start, this, from Perth. Knocked the ball around pretty well, quite comfortable. The Mariners are sitting in and waiting and asking Perth to go side to side, but at times they're coming in and getting shots away.
And it will be the youngster Jalen Pearman to take. 4 goals and 3 assists for Pearman this season. In it comes, all the way to the back post. Wasn't dealt with at all. Here's Freeney, square ball. The opportunity hit well by Amos and deflected behind for another corner.
I think that comes off Moragas in the end. It's a good block and a good ball in from the corner in the first place. It was just trying to crowd out a few bodies and not allow H. Cullen to come out. He just get lost a little bit. Taggart does really well to keep it alive. And that little pass there on the edge of the box from Freeney was a good one, trying to find a better option for somebody.
It is Freeney this time towards the back post, and again Taggart is there. That time he got the shot away, perhaps not as cleanly as he would have liked. Claimed by H. Cullen. Well, it's been a positive start by both sides, and as you mentioned, Perth, who have grown in confidence over the last few weeks of the season, trying to bring that to this cup game. A really difficult situation for the clubs, but probably better to play it now than right at the start of pre-season when the players are just coming back from holiday and aren't really fit enough. Brantman, his cross, left foot, it's a great ball to the back post, and De Lima with a really good sighting at goal. He's been in good form of late, but he couldn't hit the target there.
There's a good move from the Mariners. I'm surprised that De Lima actually got that sort of purchase. It didn't sit kindly for him with his first touch, just sort of came to him a little bit too quickly. And it was an entry point again from Brantman, stepping forward, another good ball into the box. And the first one didn't get in there at the far post. And De Lima, just with that little touch, he wasn't expecting and couldn't control it. And it wasn't far away at all.
DePizio with the initial run. Brantman putting Okamoto under pressure. It's a good ball forward towards Mileusnic. Pearman can't get there though. DePizio, good use of the body. Touch for Brantman. DePizio again strikes it. Nice football from the Mariners. Save Ollie Sale.
Yeah, it's beautiful to watch when you're playing quickly, first time around the corner, getting numbers in there, getting numbers forward. That's where the Mariners can be dangerous. They've got to go and support that front line, and they can do it quickly like that. I think the Perth Glory will have problems.
That's what these young ball players, the DePizios, the Brantmans, can bring to the occasion, as opposed to a more hard-running Alu Kuol or a pacey winger like De Lima. Murchula with Freeney. Will Freeney, who started 3 of the last 4 in the A-League season, he's really grown into this campaign as well in recent weeks. An academy graduate from the Perth Glory Academy. There's a handball there against Mizao.
Maybe a tad, a little bit bouncy on the pitch. Not sure if it's the ball or the surface, but some of the players just misguiding some of those passes, and we saw that handball given. It was a really strange one. And just for the Mariners' sake, now I know they're sitting, I know it's really hot up there, but they're not going and pressing that pass into the back line, allowing the 2 central defenders to have it. Once they get into this position, can they go and press a little bit more? Gets away with that one. McCalmont, looked like a foul.
Ball with Caltac. Mariners just struggling to get a foothold in the middle of the park at the moment. Here's McCalmont. His turn to give it away. Intercepted by Osler. Pearman. Good turn. Invites Akamoto forward down this right-hand side. He's got Mileusnic, who's just struggling to get on the ball a little bit as well. Nikola Mileusnic. Had a injury-plagued start to the season as well. Mileusnic, every time he seemed to get on the pitch, he seemed to pull a hamstring after just a couple of minutes. Here's Freeney with Pearman. Lovely turn. Taggart. Ball in behind, looking for Freeney. Good football from Perth. Mizao, his cross. In the end, just slicing off the foot, unable to find Mileusnic.
That's fantastic movement from Jalen Pearman. Listening to David Zrilic talk about where he operates best, I think he's still finding that out. But in these little pockets of space for a big guy, great turning circle, great understanding with Taggart, who tried to release his teammate, and the ball just did not come back in. They had 4 numbers in the box there, the Perth Glory.
Very elegant player as well. Here is Mileusnic now. Quick feet. Just catching McCalmont. He doesn't think there was too much in it, I don't think.
That's his job. He wants to get out there and make those tackles, particularly when he's out of position, trying to cover for his fullback there.
Well, we're approaching the midway point of the first half. 5 shots apiece, just the one on target for both sides, but it's been a pretty entertaining start to this one, despite the conditions and the conditions of the 2 teams as well who come here, having struggled so much these seasons. Pearman again. Breakout campaign for him, both for club and country. Flag up for offside against Mizao.
Yeah, you're almost hoping, from a selfish point of view, to see a little bit more of Pearman in the A-League. It's great to see so many young players go across and get opportunities. But just having half a season, having a full season, the variety of goals that he's scored, the energy he's shown, it's going to be a loss for Perth Glory. It won't be in the tick column that they've produced him, and he's come and helped the team do well. They finished last. So it'd be great if they could have had him for the campaign next year to build on that and potentially get themselves back in the 6.
Now, this looks a little bit concerning for Miguel de Pizio, the youngest ever grand final goal scorer, when he came off the bench to score. Now, he had an injury to a knee at the start of the season. Now, it's happened before that challenge with Majeka Dumni, and he looks in some pain. There, you see it there.
Yeah, he had surgery at the start of the year, didn't he?
Yeah, and he was out for a long time.
Doesn't look good. It's just the way that he lands in that bit of turf, maybe with the back of the heel, and from that reaction, it's not great for him.
Well, let's hope that he is okay. He's being checked by the physio. Now you can see Dylan Parage-Cullen with Danny Vukovic there.
Yeah, they've got to sort that out. That's good coaching there from Vukovic, and could pick up from you. I think sometimes that there was a bit of indecisiveness whether or not to come or go, and that might be the last we see at the physio. It's not what you want to see in a game like this at the end of the year.
No, he's heading straight into the changing room. Just having a look, I can't see. Well, they are about to bring on the former Perth Glory Cup hero from the start of the season, Abdul Faisal, who had an excellent start to his life at Perth Glory, but was 3 goals in the cup run, including that famous 5-4 victory over Melbourne City. But then in the January transfer window, wanted to move back to the East Coast to be closer to family, and signed with the Central Coast Mariners. So now back where it all began.
Yeah, I remember that game. It was against Brisbane Roar in the playoff in Darwin, and he had a really special game. David Williams had a really good game as well, if you remember, for Perth Glory. But then they were cup set by Moreton City later on. So
when they were leading 2-0.
Yeah.
Ball in behind, looking for Mileušnić. That's the glory of the cup. There were so many cup sets last season as well.
Well, it's great to see, and great to see the A-League clubs getting it all sorted before they go on their break, and they can come back and be ultra competitive, having 4 or 5 weeks of pre-season, getting into the round of 32. You'd feel like you're missing out if you're not in that round of 32 as well.
Ball in. Alu Kuol with the header away. Well, there is an extra A-League club in the round of 32 this year as well, because
that's right,
with the 13 clubs in the competition, only 2 missing out, so 11 going into the round of 32. And we'll see, with the idea that expansion continues and more clubs joining the A-League, hopefully in years to come. We'll probably see all the A-League clubs join at some point, but for the moment, the FA, who run this competition as opposed to the APL, feel that the playoff is necessary to keep the right balance between A-League clubs and federation clubs.
And to be honest, you know, the A-League level's always getting better and younger and sharper, but some of those NPL sides in every state are not far away, and I think because of the Australia Cup, they've been given that gauge to be able to test themselves, and then also to bring in other players from other parts of the world, or drop down from the A-League and sell it to those players and say, look, we're not far away from these guys. We got to this point in the Australia Cup, we beat this team, we've got this coach. That's why we love the Australia Cup.
And it is the biggest national competition in the country as well. Over 700 clubs. Means it's bigger than even the English FA Cup.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's great to see.
Murchula. One of those emergency signings in January, along with Mizao. Okamoto. He just ran it too far. Mizao, he wanted another option. For A.H. Cullen. Just the 3 clean sheets in this A-League season. Alu Kuol, top scorer with 4 goals for the Central Coast Mariners this season. That tells you how hard goals were to come by for them.
Yeah, where do you focus your energy if you're Mark Jackson? Is it that top end or is it the bottom end? And there's no easy way to say it, it's both. But when you let so many players go after having success in Asia, it was always bound to happen, and that's just been the model of the A-League. And now when we see teams doing well in Asia, it's great for the league, great for exposure, but not a lot of teams can hang on to the talent.
It's a shop window as well.
Yeah.
As a competition. Oh, that's challenged by Moragas, has just given it straight back to Okamoto. And he went looking for Adam Taggart, but that is a real wasted opportunity because he could have kept going alone.
Yeah, he needed to go in there with speed, just get his head down and put the motor on. It was a big mix-up at the back between Paul and getting there. Okamoto, there was a little pass maybe. Caltech's positioning, he did the right thing there, waiting just to see where Adam Taggart, recognising that he was the danger man, but that's neither a shot nor a cross.
Possession still in Perth's favour, 57% to 43. Brantman wants the throw, it goes Amos's way.
He's been getting stuck in. Brantman, Amos, good battle in midfield. I'm really surprised about the energy levels. I know it's the end of the season, the team should be fit, you know, but you're talking about Perth Glory that have travelled to Auckland, they've travelled to Wellington, having to play there, and then to come to Darwin to readjust. It's part of the gig, I know that, but it's until you do it yourself and go there and lose 3 or 4 kilos in the half and then try and recover, it's a different story.
Flag up for offside against Mileusnic. It was a pretty eventful double header in the end down in New Zealand. They were meant to, they played the first game in Auckland and then were meant to play on the Friday night, the last Friday night of the season, but storms in Wellington meant they couldn't get there from Auckland, so their sojourn across the ditch was extended by another 2 days. They ended up playing on the Sunday, then came back to Perth for a week before heading up here to Darwin. They were met by 33 degrees Celsius for their troubles.
Yeah, they played really well against Wellington Phoenix. It's always so difficult when you are in a position of not getting results and being down the other end of the table and everyone's against you and everyone turns on you. So to get 2 wins out of the last 3, I guess will give hope that there's something there dangling for next season. That's a great run from Paul here.
On the charge, turning Amos inside out. Here's De Lima with Docker. Overlapping down that right-hand side, back with Hahn Eames. McCalmont. And Nathan Paul again, who gave that initial thrust to this passage with Caltac. Moragas. Brantman coming short. Moragas turning into Mileusnic. No free kick. Taggart. Mileusnic is quick if he could just manage to get in behind. 31 years of age now, Mileusnic. That's a good switch of play for Mizao. Cross back post. Might have almost been going in itself. Goal kick, says the referee.
2 opportunities now for Perth Glory. Not sure if it was a cross or a shot coming in, but a great switch of play from the Glory, going from back to front in a matter of seconds. And it was Mizao just trying to get his angles right, but as a Moragas losing possession in the middle of the park, and they restart there through Amos. A great first ball into space, then a great switch of play on the other side, and Taggart was lurking. He was waiting for a bit more service. It was a little bit too far for him to get to.
Good passage of play again from Perth Glory. Well, you talk about that confidence and how hard it is to play when everyone's on your back. David Strilic made reference to that several times throughout the season, of just how hard it was after that surprise of that opening day defeat to then have a squad that was just losing every week, and even when you play well you'd still lose just because the team had no confidence when they walked out onto the pitch. Here's Brantman. He's on the charge. It opens up for the effort, but he can't hit the target. He's still looking for his first ever goal in Mariners colours.
Deserve more. There was Docker at right back that did so well to get out of traffic, a little nutmeg, and then stepping into the midfield. That's the beauty of having a Mikel Docker playing at right back. We talk about him being versatile. Could he play further forward? In those attacking moments, he recognises the moment when he can dribble into traffic and just nick one by the line of midfield.
Intelligent player. Taggart, another intelligent player who got the better of Paul with good use of the body. Now Mileušnić against Moragas. Mileušnić still, he's done well. Crosses back post. Osler was arriving. And it's the man in question, Mikel Docker, who settles things with Nathan Paul. Very calmly played out from the back. Brantman loses out though. Amos for Mileušnić. Okamoto wins the corner.
That's really good football. Good football all around, but for Perth Glory to lose that opportunity, then chase back. It's all down to their midfield doing a lot of work in there. Amos, Farini going and closing down the Mariners when they're playing out, trying to play out of pressure. Maybe that clearance could have come from Paul rather than trying to play that short pass.
Pearman, good ball in, just too high for Mizal. Freeney. Kamoto with Amos. 10 minutes to go in the first half, still scoreless in this first of two Australia Cup playoff matches from Larrakia Park in Darwin. Amos again, little ball over the top. Osler does well against Docker. Got Pearman inside, Taggart as well. Osler still. Freeney with that left foot sprays it out wide to Mileušnić. Trying to get the better of Moragas. Okamoto, he's got Pearman short, little touch. Okamoto's in here, trying to shoot on the left boot. Again, they work the opening well. They're just lacking the finishing touch at the moment.
No, the crazy thing for Perth Glory is that their right back is getting the most opportunities in the game. They're getting in that position really well, trying to create that overload with Mileušnić. Great pass and movement on the left foot. Thought it took a little piece of Nathan Paul, but we'll see from here. No, it looks like though he just completely miscued it, but great to see the movement. That's what you want from your right fullback. Just don't stand there and watch the pass. Go and make a run inside the box if you can.
Kaltak. Docker up the line again. Perth win it straight back through Majeka Dumni. Is there a foul there by McCalmont? No, says the referee. No complaints from Pearman. Nathan Paul, Moragas. Well, the Mariners, who have created the danger in fits and spurts in this match, are just showing that they still lack that little bit of cohesion. That one win from 15 matches, that includes their final 2 defeats in the Asian Champions League, as Alu Kual has stayed down. Otherwise, it was 1 win in their last 13 A-League matches. Mind you, that win did come against Perth.
Yeah.
So they could take something from that. Mikael Docker with a penalty, Alu Kual and Thea Harris also with goals that day.
It looks as though that David Thrulich has done his homework here about what are the strengths of the Central Coast Mariners, and then going forward, it's only when they go quickly into players that can run into space. I know it sounds simple, but if you see the Perth Glory, every time that they're losing the ball...
That's a good ball from Mileusnic, looking for Taggart.
They go and press in these moments, Robbie, which is great, but when the ball goes to the halfway line...
They've got it back again here. No way, and now we are back towards the halfway line.
Well, you watch them here. Watch all the purple shirts get back. You'll see Adam Taggart getting back behind the halfway line, get Pearman behind the halfway line. It's very difficult then to go and break down.
It's a foul by Trent Osler, and the first booking of the evening in the 39th minute.
Just a little bit late getting back, but that's another message probably sent from the coaching staff, is if you're out of position, you can get back and you can help slow down the attack. It was Faisal just there. He's gone all over him, almost like a rugby tackle. But they slow the Mariners down, and that's where they're dangerous. In that transition moment, that's pretty much all that they've got going forward at the moment. You get numbers back, you ask them to break them down. It's very difficult on a hot night in Darwin.
Faisal, the former teammate. And now, perhaps, the Mariners, who do have a pretty good record from set pieces, thanks in large part to this man, Mikael Docker's delivery. It's a good ball in, back post. Oh, it's an own goal. It's a disaster from Majeka Dumni. There was no danger. There were no Mariners players around. And all he could do, the youngster, was just steer the ball beyond Ollie Sale. Agonisingly at that. It just looped into the empty net.
Well, you said it. It was Mikael Docker. He's got great service. He's got great identification where to put the ball. He put it right in that spot where the goalkeeper's not sure, the defenders are not sure, and that's exactly why that body shape of Majeka Dunmi just could not angle his body, could not get a head on it, had to stick out a leg, but he's gone all the way across his keeper there, and that was probably the only way the Mariners were going to score in this first half, and they've scored.
And Perth, the only side to take part in all 5 of the Australia Cup playoffs, having so often struggled to get out of it successfully. Well, they lost their first 3. They got through last year and then went all the way to the round of 16, but they're trailing here with 5 minutes to go in the first half.
Yeah, that'll take the stuffing out of you. When you've been knocking the ball around well, creating good chances in front of goal, and, you know, got to be honest about what they've been trying to achieve. You see Caltech being chased down. They've gone side to side really well, Perth, but that's that final ball into the box. If they can find a good pass, they've got someone like an Adam Taggart, a Jalen Pearman that should be scoring things. Now, I know it's a lucky goal for the Mariners, but it just goes to show you the fragility of that back line for Perth Glory, letting in a team that had no right to come into the game.
And it's been the big problem. They've just struggled for consistent numbers back there as well. It's only Majeka Dumni only played 5 times in the A-League this season. After that opening day, there was Andriano Labib, who's on the bench, but he only played 7 times in the end. In the end, Mordakutis, who arrived mid-season, featured, as has Mizau and Tommy Murchula. Josh Risdon had injury problems as well, and that's not to mention the likes of Kanga, who left mid-season as well. Mentioned they've used more players than any other squad in the A-League this season. They've made more changes to the starting 11 as well than any other side. There was just no consistency in the lineup for David Strilic, and especially when you're talking in defence, so important.
Yeah, he's tried absolutely everything there to try and spin the tables around, but for next season they've got to lock in and locate their best 11, 12, 13 players. I think most A-League clubs now have a good squad and a lot of youngsters coming through. You've got to have 13 guys that can play week in, week out, availability. And you talk about players that have won championships or premierships in the A-League, or playing the Australia Cup here. You've got to be available, and you've got to be able to play 90 minutes week in, week out.
There's Brantman now. Mariners, who lost the final in 2021 to Melbourne Victory at Amy Park 2-1. Chris Economides with the winner for Victory. That's a great turn from Alu Kual against Majeka Dumni. Alu Kual opening up for the shot, and that's 2. Fantastic first touch from Alu Kual, and he scored against Perth in the league in that 3-1 victory this season, and he's got another goal here.
Sign of a really good striker. Hasn't had much to do in these first 43 minutes or so, but what a fantastic turn it was. Getting away with the outside of the foot and then having the composure to roll it in the corner. Didn't try to lash at it, didn't try to hit it with power. It was a great run forward, taking away a few Perth defenders. And you talk about a number 9 for the Central Coast Mariners. I know he's not scored a lot of goals this year, but that'll do his confidence a world of good here.
2 goals in the shadows of half-time. There's rarely a worse time to concede than just before the break, and Perth have contrived to do it twice in a matter of seconds. And this has been something that has plagued them again so often this campaign. They've played some good football in this first 40 minutes of this contest without really forcing Paraych Cullen into any heroics in the Mariners' goal. And then in the end, they've been beaten by an own goal and then Ollie Sale from distance.
Yeah. All right, I think you look at that goal back, it just had all the markings of that fragility we're talking about in the backline. They just kept backing off. Somebody's got to go and step up to somebody running at you into the 18-yard box. And it's almost like, who else is going to do it? Is somebody else going to do it rather than taking responsibility and going to the ball? Somebody's got to put pressure there. And what's the team talk going to be like now at halftime?
And these goals scored from distance have been a real problem for Perth Glory. 11 goals from outside the box conceded in the A-League season. And that's continued here this evening. Mile Uznic looking for a response. Good ball in, too high for Taggart. Amos goes without it. Those 11 A-League goals conceded from outside the box, more than any other side. And to give you some idea, Western Sydney, Melbourne City only conceded 2 all season from outside the box, and that's 11 for Perth, and another one here this evening.
Yeah, there's a lot of elements there. I think from why do you concede so many on the edge of the box? There's so many reasons for it, but you saw a great example of why that one went in. Just everybody backing off. You've got to step up to the ball.
Another ball back in for Taggart, who's wrestling against Nathan Paul. Amos with Okamoto. Amos again, good ball, nice shape on it. Paraych Cullen with a good punch.
It was a good punch. Even took out Brian Kaltak at the back as well.
The 2 minutes of stoppages have elapsed. Well, it was a very entertaining and interesting first half of football in which Perth Glory looked like they were in control for large periods, only for an own goal from Kalen Majeka-Dumni 5 minutes before the break to be quickly followed by Alu Kual's strike from just outside the box. And that means that it's the Central Coast Mariners who are in the playoffs for the first time in their history that are in the box seat here. They lead Perth Glory by 2-0.
What are you doing?
We're planking.
It's because of our internet providers.
We're stuck in 2011.
Same slow internet speeds.
And high prices.
It's like a nightmare.
Enough planking. Superloop is a network purpose-built for the super-fast future of the internet. You are free.
Don't take it lying down, Australia. Refresh your internet.
You are free.
it was outside of that scoreline, which of course is the main stat at the top of your screen there. The Central Coast Mariners in the box seat against Perth Glory at the halfway point of this contest here in Darwin. Also coming up tomorrow night, the second of these Australia Cup playoff matches, which see Brisbane Roar taking on Wellington Phoenix. Well, we might head off to our second quick little break during this halftime show, and we'll be back with all the second half action coming up.
Simon said our comms are not synced. Really? Yeah.
As they make their way off the ground, another huge round of applause for our polls videos, please, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go, running race going on here.
Welcome back to Larrakia Park in Darwin for the Australia Cup playoffs. There you can see Dylan Cullen is back out to keep warming up before the start of this second half. The players just starting to make their ways back out onto the pitch now. You'd have to feel, Eric, that David Strilic, the Perth Glory coach, could be pulling his hair out at the moment, because in that first half they had plenty of chances, particularly down this right-hand side with the Japanese right-back, Okamoto.
It hasn't been kind to them this year, has it really? They've had a really good start to this game. They've won a couple of games at the back end of the A-League campaign, but Takuya Okamoto had a lot of space on that right-hand side along with Mile Uznic, and he was getting into good positions, running inside the box, having shots. And I think if you're the Central Coast Mariners, you've got to watch out for these situations. And yes, it's a mix-up here, but I loved how he stepped in there and tried to thread something through to maybe a better option. But in that circumstance, he probably should have had a shot himself. And
well, he could have kept going, driving straight in towards goal there.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the confidence maybe. This one here, it just goes a little high and wide, but it's great to see a right back or a left back getting inside the box. And that's where I think the Mariners haven't got anybody on the other side. I haven't seen the likes of, you know, Moragas or Docker.
Yeah, they haven't been pushing up much. They've been looking to just get the ball in and hope that something can happen through a Brantman. They lost Miguel De Pizio again, who I did see with a big bag of ice on his knee. It's Hahn Eames that gets the second half underway. The Central Coast Mariners leading Perth Glory by 2-0, an own goal from Kalen Majekadumni, and then Alu Kuol getting another goal against Perth to go with his earlier this season in that 3-1 victory. Otherwise, 2 draws between these two sides, 1-1 and scoreless. This is the 4th meeting between the two this season, and Eric Partaloo, Perth Glory, they have to come out almost all goals blazing if they want to play Australia Cup football next season.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the halftime team talk would have been about trying to move the ball a little bit quicker. They've done well in possession and getting players into the final third, like Okamoto, as we said there at halftime. But it's easy for the Mariners to just sit there behind the ball now. 2-0 lead. We've got to see something different from Perth Glory. What will that be? They've got enough firepower up front to conjure something up. They've got some great movers, got some great target men, but they need to get a bit more involved.
Well, they need to score twice. They've only managed to score 2 goals 3 times in the last 15 matches. Freeney, square ball, turned behind by Nathan Paul. First corner of the second half will go the way of Perth Glory. They scored 2 against the Phoenix in the last game of the season. They got 4 against Adelaide in that final home match of the campaign, that 4-1 win. Otherwise, the only other time they scored 2 goals in 2025 was 2-2 with Newcastle back in January. Ball in, Parage Cullen with the punch. Taggart trying to keep it alive. Freeney gets there. Turned behind by Moragas, so they've managed to just somehow get another corner out of that.
That's how you start a second half. Go and put a little bit of pressure down the end. If you get a second bite at the cherry from a corner, go and pressure again in that 5 seconds that you've got. Good ball in from Pearman before. Now it's going to be an in-swinger with the left foot.
Freeney it is. Bit of height back post towards Taggart. And he got his head on it again. He's had a couple of good sightings, Adam Taggart.
Yeah, he's in good form at the back end of the season. Adam Taggart, just wondering how the Mariners have allowed him to get off there. The far post. Faisal, bit of a mismatch, but he's watching the ball there, and he lost sight of where that goal predator is. He knows where the back of the net is.
He also misjudged it a little bit. Abdullah Faisal. Nathan Paul again stepping on the accelerator. He's one of those Mariners players out of contract. Moragas with the throw for Nathan Paul. Kaltak with Docker. De Lima's touch, not the easiest.
You can see the ball just bouncing there. It's very difficult to play out, I think. Once there's a bad touch or pressure on the ball, you're going to have a few bounces. So if you're Perth Glory, I think you've got to go and pressure every time they're playing out. This is much better. Stepping forward a bit more.
For H. Cullen. Well, it's up to Perth to put the pressure on as well. As soon as the ball rolls from the keeper, the press comes. De Lima's touch towards Faisal, who did well to try and keep that in. Ollie Sale with the big up and under towards Osler. Brings it down well. Here's Pierman. Mile Uznic, overlapping run, the cross towards the back post is beyond Osler, and it's another wasted opportunity.
It was a great little take there from Trent Osler. Long ball in the air. He could have easily just flicked it on and asked somebody else to do the running, but he brought it down, looked for another option, and combined with those front three. Mile Uznic is screaming for the ball to get played to him. The overlap was there, which allowed the option at the far posts. Osler was there, but just not quite close enough.
Taggart again. Trying to lead the press. Eames with Kaltak. They're forced to go long, dealt with by Tommy Murchela. Faisal finds Qual, a little fortunately perhaps. Freeney against Qual, and Freeney's done very well there. Not easy taking on Alu Qual.
Yeah, it's really good work, isn't it? I think Alu Qual there tried to get back. That's where he needs to improve his game. If there's a ball that is in dispute and you see that Tommy Murchela's out of position, you've got to make that stick, you've got to roll and get yourself at the back three, because Murchela was out of position.
Now Mile Uznic again looking to accelerate. Little touch with Pierman. Okamoto, cross deflected. Hahn Eames to the back post. Mizal. His touch, gets it back from Amos. Now Trent Osler. Ball to the back post and turned behind by Brantman.
It's a good arrival from Brantman, helping out there. That's what you want to see. We asked the question that Okamoto was getting a lot of space and time, and he went and helped out there at the far post. It's really good to see. And it's Pierman again. Not sure if he's left-footed or right-footed.
He's the right. It's the other youngster, Freeney, who's with the left. Pierman's ball in near post. Uznic trying to make a nuisance of himself. Okamoto with Freeney. Amos outside. Cross in again, doesn't make it past Moragas. Now, is there a foul there on the edge of the area? Nothing, says the referee. McCalmont not happy. Osler.
And again, another attacker getting back and helping out. Great to see. And at 2-0, there is a little element of protecting this lead. And I think Perth Glory will come out and they'll try and stretch and gamble a little bit getting forward.
Uznic cross in. Paul's header. Oh, that's going to fall dangerously. Brilliant defensive header from Mikael Docker. Well, that looked for all money like it was going to drop in underneath the crossbar, and somehow Docker got it out.
Is there anything he can't do? Mikael Docker, that was sensational. Love to see a replay of how close that actually was. Nobody pressuring the ball again from that side, and it was Paul that just headed the ball up into the air. There was no pressure from the likes of Adam Taggart or somebody in the box going in and just asking Mikael Docker how on earth he's going to go and flick it back. It was Freeney, or Osler, I should say, getting there in that position. He should have gone and challenged him. Should have gone in and tried to head the ball.
Could have had ball and all in the back of the net.
Yeah.
He bundled everything in. Kaltak. The press coming from Perth, and they've won a throw at least. That's some reward. Mizal with Majeka Dumni. Now Murchela. Amos, a little bit of pace in that pass to try and get the team moving forward, but it just comes straight back. Freeney. Osler gets it back. Here's Freeney again. They're trying to thread the eye of the needle. There's plenty of bodies there. Qual just turned into trouble.
Good shape though, isn't it, from the Mariners? It's really good shape. Forcing those sorts of issues on a bumpy surface and know things are going to happen, that just gives you a lot more impetus now to step the team forward. They need a little bit more urgency, the Glory, but they're finding it difficult.
Tommy Murchler not happy as that pass just bobbled out of play and over the touchline. Faisal helping out De Lima. Free kick goes Mariners' way.
It's such a risky pass, that, from Brian Kaltak, but that on a normal pitch maybe. In the A-League, it sticks going into the feet of De Lima, who handled it really well. And they're not straying away from their principles, which is great to see. Still trying to play those passes through the middle, because that cuts out a whole line of defence for the Glory.
As De Lima, oh, as that ball has popped up for Faisal, looking for a third for the Mariners, claimed by Ollie Sale. It's Arthur De Lima who's gone into that DiPizio role, more central when DiPizio went off and Faisal came on to the right side of midfield. Mizau forward, too high for Adam Taggart, who's cutting a fairly solitary figure up front at the moment, isn't he? He's not getting on the end of anything at the moment. It's hopeful ball after hopeful ball, but he's still working hard defensively at least.
That's so good from the youngster. Turning there, getting himself involved. Missile had to step out and foul. That's how good the turn was in the middle of the park. And that's why you try to thread those passes in the middle sometimes. If you get through and turn, you're right on their back line. If you don't, you get a foul. But it can also go the other way and allow Perth to come and step in on you. But the Mariners' ball retention on this surface has been really good in the second half so far.
Kaltak with Docker. De Lima. One for Qual to chase. He'll have the pace on Murchler. Hello, Qual. Faces up. Square ball. Oh, Brantman can't control. They had numbers forward there, the Mariners. A third goal would just about be curtains for Perth Glory's hopes. Docker, clever little pass for Qual. Taking on Murchler. And the big lumbering defender did just enough, and he did it well.
That's the option for Alu Qual. Get the ball out of your feet and sprint into the box and ask Tommy Murchler if you can handle the pace, and he did. It was a really good block from the long legs. Docker again, passing, moving, helping and supporting, but that's a really good tackle from Tommy Murchler. For sure that was going to go on target. Not easy dealing with the threat of Alu Qual.
In comes the corner back post. Nathan Paul's header. Oh, it's been spilt by Ollie Sale. Under pressure from Alu Qual. Well, there's the XG. That just confirms that Perth have been very much in the contest. Not a high XG either for either side, it must be said.
Well, I don't think we expected to get 2 goals in that first half, and that's just the beauty of the cup, that anything can happen if you don't defend well and if you don't organise in front of you. It's all good playing a low block or getting players back in the right position. If you don't have leaders on the pitch going and making tackles and getting stuck in and stopping things when there's danger, that's the game.
Mizau up the line. This is nice football. Osler for Amos. A rare sortie forward for him. Amos with Mizau again. Hit the post a couple of times in one of his first games. Mizau as that cross back post. There's nobody there for Perth. It's kept alive by the Mariners and then turned goalward. Jalen Pearman. Fantastic finish Well, he's just underlying his quality, this young man. It's another goal for him before he bids farewell to Perth to ply his trade in the UK. And is he going to leave them with a berth in the Australia Cup?
He scored some wonderful goals this year. There's probably only going to be one man inside the box apart from Adam Taggart to get close to scoring. They could have let that one run. The Mariners was going out for a goal kick, but it's a beautiful volley. That's still a very difficult technique. Uses the side of the foot. Did not try and hit it with the laces, just try to place it right in the corner. But what were the Mariners thinking? Where was the communication in the back line? But what a tidy finish from Pearman.
Well, he had a breakout season in the A-League, Jalen Pearman. There was plenty of talk before he'd made his debut that they had this latest little gem coming through the academy. Now just 19 years of age and a under-20 Asian champion. 4 goals and 3 assists. There's been a sub for the Mariners as well. Hahn Eames has made way. And Nick Duarte is on for Alu Kuol. Harrison Steele has come in to the middle of the park for the Mariners, so a double change.
Well, I guess that XG was pretty close to being right then. We're going to be the next team to score, and again, it's just a little mix-up defensively. It would be really hard for both coaches to go back and watch this one and probably put it into a highlight reel of calamitous defending, really. It's an easy one that the Mariners should clear. The goalkeeper, the backline, they've all got to communicate. It should never happen and head it back into traffic.
Moragas it was with the defensive header that Mile Uznic then turned back. There was still so much to do. There you can see the possession. It's just accentuated in Perth's favour in this second half. Didn't he do it well, Jalen Pearman? There's the ball looking for Taggart. Osler. Bundled over by McCalmont, who's done well under pressure there. Docker. Managed to find a little bit of space where there was none, the Mariners.
That's quality.
Just enough,
just enough. But stepping forward and realising that there's nothing else on in front of him, just take the contact. And there was a little bit of contact going down.
But it wasn't on Arthur De Lima, who's also down. Have a look at this. This is the quick feed of Docker, just doing enough to get the foul that was there. But Arthur De Lima also has a problem with that right boot, and the hot and draining conditions are starting to take their toll. There's Freeney with a little bit of cramp.
Yeah, he's worked hard as well, Freeney, in the middle of the park. If it's not chasing off the ball, he's done such a hard job to get on it and turn and get past people. Maybe just a little roll of the ankle or a stud. That magic spray does wonders, though. Here's that run again, Robbie. He had his head up there looking for options and realised there was nothing really he could play that was going to help his team out. Now, he goes down easily, I know that, but that's in the blood.
And Freeney is going to make way as well. Just picking up a little bit of cramp. There he goes. Off, so Adam Bugaria into the contest. So the response from David Strilic, and Bugaria started out this season in a little more attacking role. In fact, it's Pearman who's dropped back into that Freeney role, and Bugaria will play just behind Adam Taggart in attack. Osler taking on Docker. Osler. And there's a yellow card for McCalmont for a foul off the ball at the start of that passage.
I'm just wondering if it's that tackle on Amos. It was just there stepping forward. He got himself and just left a little bit too much in on the Glory midfielder. He's been taking bullets in there tonight. Both midfielders for the Glory. There's McCalmont. He's got to be careful now. He plays that role so well, going out and stopping things and putting out fires. Great distribution, but a really good ratter. He goes out there and gets stuck in and makes tackles. It's a big part of his game.
And he also had a spell on the sidelines with injury this season as well that proved costly. That's a great turn from Amos, releasing Mile Uznic. The chance to make it 2. And again, it wasn't really a shot or a cross in the end. Osler denied. Now Pearman. His cross back post will be easy enough for Parage Cullen. What an opportunity for Perth Glory to equalise.
Oh, they've got to take more responsibility. What were they doing at training yesterday? Crossing and finishing, but it's neither. It's Brian Kaltak, possibly in his last game for the Mariners, made a really critical intervention. He knew where the ball was going. And Glory got themselves into that position 3 or 4 times now.
Faisal hooks the ball back over his head. Here's Pearman again. And again, there's space on that side. The cross, Mile Uznic towards Taggart. Well, it's not often you see Brian Kaltak beaten in the air, but that's an outstanding piece of aerial work from Adam Taggart. Perth Glory's captain, their goal scorer, strikes, and just as it was in the first half, 2 goals in a matter of minutes, and we're all square.
That's fantastic work from a player who just knows exactly where the back of the net is. It's a great ball in, and Kaltak thinks he's going to run into his own goalkeeper. It's a great delivery in, and Adam Taggart, who's been on absolute fire at the back end of the season, his Glory's smoking gun, gets another head up and gets his team back in the game.
And back on level terms, Mile Uznic with the assist. And well, the difference between the 2 halves is the final ball has been there.
Yep.
On this occasion, a little bit of luck, as there was with the Mariners' own goal from Majeka Dumni. The Mariners with a defensive mistake that gave Perth the chance, and then a second goal just a couple of moments later. Now Mizau. It's a good ball. Osler. Mizau continues his run. Oh, and Osler's offside. Well, that's frustrating.
It's almost as if the Central Coast Mariners are running on empty. They're on fumes at the moment. It's Perth Glory that have all the energy getting forward, and they're getting into good positions with numbers. Now, that halftime team talk completely out the window now. It was Docker. Gee, that would have been close. I'm not sure how he's offside there.
Certainly looked very close. Well, what do the Mariners have left in reserve? That's the question. Midway through the second half. There's still a lot of this game left to play. Majeka Dumni slips. Nick Duarte, the cutback towards Faisal. An excellent piece of defending from Mizau, who wasn't just caught ball watching, he kept his eye on the runner. Pearman with Amos. Okamoto with Mile Uznic, who seems to finally have found his range with that right boot, and that cross for Adam Taggart.
Yeah, it was sensational. That was the key of the goal, really. Just opened himself up, and I think not often, like we said, that you see Brian Kaltak scratching his head, not knowing how to position. Maybe question marks over Parage Cullen. Could he come a little bit further out and collect or punch? But Adam Taggart, how brave do you have to be to get in the middle of that little passage?
And straining every neck muscle as well to get the angle. Well, Duarte will chase everything up front. He got his reward. There you see the XG. Perth have stepped on the accelerator in that department. Duarte's one goal this season came late on in the 2-2 draw away to Auckland. Mizau. Osler. Well defended Kaltak, who's come a long way to do that bit of defending.
Well, it's really only Perth Glory trying to put the ball down and play here. And anything that's happened in this game has happened. Long balls from Marcella. Here's another nice ball.
Taggart. Flag has stayed down. Bugaria looking for a second chance. Majeka Dumni's header for McCalmont. Looks up the line, but Faisal again is very cleverly watched by Mizau.
And that snapshot there, Robbie, is exactly where, on the flip side, you've got runners in a purple shirt in that final third. I know it's hot, it's difficult, and they may be out of gas, the Mariners, but there's just so much room for the Perth Glory to play into at the moment because the players look like they have more energy. They're getting forward. They're getting forward in that back, and they're going at the Mariners rather than sitting in.
Osler taking over from Bugaria. Merchela with Amos. It's another good ball. Again, the runners. The cross in from Mileusnic towards Taggart. They've got the throw. They're on top, Perth.
That was a really good pass there from Amos. I think he's been a standout for them in the midfield, doing everything right. Getting a lot of time to thread passes. That's better communication from the Mariners. Just deal with it.
There's a bit of a Hail Mary from Trent Osler, but they've managed to hold on to possession again. Majeka Dumni's got Pierman in this deeper role, but if anything, he looks just as comfortable there, doesn't he?
Play him anywhere. And he can finish it, and he's a good retainer of the ball. And if he's going to go and play in the UK, passes like that are excellent from that position.
In between the lines from deep it was, picking out Taggart. Bugaria. Okamoto with Amos. We know he can strike a ball. Amos does so. Well, we can only assume Parage Cullen knew that that was going wide because he didn't make any movement toward the ball.
Yeah, could have gone anywhere through bodies in that position. Again, Okamoto arriving without any pressure. He's just made a really good blindside run 3 or 4 times in the first half, and again here in the second allowed Amos that space to shoot. And if the Mariners are going to be backing off like that, they're going to be in trouble.
Now there's a player down in the middle of the pitch there, which has given everyone the opportunity to take on a little bit of water. It's Jalen Pierman. Well, I've just been singing his praises. Let's hope that it's nothing more than a little bit of cramp.
Yeah, I think if you're David Zilich right here, you must know that you're on top of the game. You must know you're creating the better chances. There's no point locking it up and thinking we'll get to the end of the game. Going to extra time and penalties, by the way, if it's a draw. And I think they know. They know. They're on top here. They just got to find that little key pass at the end, the right one inside the box. They've got goal scorers that know where the back of the net is, and they can go and finish this game. A third goal, it finishes the game.
I think that means that it's over for Jalen Pierman. So the youngster makes way for the veteran, Brandon O'Neill. That's the substitution that's been announced, although David Strilic was looking towards the physio just to make sure if there wasn't any chance he could stay out there. Had a good game. Pierman again. Brandon O'Neill comes on. The crowd have been entertained this evening. 4 goals. There's O'Neill.
Yeah, wonder what that does now to the lineup, because we know where he can play. Brendan O'Neill. It'll mean that Taggart's going to have to do a lot of work up there, probably alone by himself. Bulgaria maybe goes up there and helps him as well in the front line. The Mariners have made his change as well.
Harris coming on to replace Arthur De Lima, who worked hard but didn't really get any sightings at goal to continue his goal-scoring form. Now Harris coming on will almost certainly go into one of those wide roles. Let's see, Faisal is here. Brantman has come across onto this right-hand side as well. Harrison Steele with Paul. Steele looking for Moragas. He got there. Wants a corner. Goal kick.
Yeah, what a shame. But that's better from the Mariners. That's where you want to see them operate, going from side to side, creating a chance, a wing-back or a full-back getting forward. Haven't really seen a lot of that from the Mariners in the second half. And like I said before, I think whoever scores this next goal, it's almost game over, because there's not been a lot of chances that have been clear-cut in this second half. So Theo Harris, I'm good to see him get an opportunity, just a goal and assist in the A-League campaign, but you know what he can produce. And I think they've lacked a couple of players like that in the Josh Nisbet role, in terms of creating and turning and threading that final pass. We know it's a part of their game that they've been missing.
Theo Harris on the score sheet against Perth. Brantman, that looked as though it could have been squeezing inside the far post as well. Bulgaria does really well. And now Mile Uznic trying to show Moragas a clean pair of heels. Bulgaria again. Turning one way then the other. Okamoto all the way back. And Perth will settle things down. We've got a good crowd in attendance. Nearly 1,500 people in the grandstand at Larrica Park. And as we saw, treated to pretty good games so far between these two sides, bringing A-League football to the Northern Territory. Well, professional football, it's not the A-League, it's the Australia Cup, of course, as Mikael Docker's on the charge.
Well, next week, we've got Darwin Olympic up against Mindel Aces in next Tuesday's final of the preliminary rounds for the Australia Cup. So that team, whoever wins there, will go through to the round of 32 and take on A-League, NPL from other states. That sort of level's a great step up. And I think it was Hearts that got through last year. Ended up losing 6-0, I think it was, to Hume City. So, you know, just getting that opportunity to sit there and watch A-League football live has been a great exercise. It's been here like the third season now in the Northern Territory. And it's been a good game. Tomorrow night's game will be just as good.
Mile Uznic wins it back. Bulgaria taking over. Here's Osler. Mizau outside him. Taggart in the middle. The cross in. It's too high for Adam Taggart. You can see him slump down as he sees there's no one at the back post again.
I think the conditions are playing their part there, and maybe could have just gone towards goal rather than playing to the outside of himself there, Osler. Mizau trying to get himself up and down, but that's the hardest role in football as a fullback. And in these conditions, to still be running and supporting, you've got to tip your hat to them.
He's been back doing the defensive duties every time on Faisal as well. So far anyway. Kaltak looks long towards Duarte. Backing in, good use of the body. He's being grappled by Majeka Dumni.
Yeah, it's good hold-up play there. Really good hold-up play. That's exactly what you want to see. Coming off the bench, making an impact. And, you know, maybe that's a philosophy that I think, for Mark Jackson next year. What sort of striker does he go and look for? And whoever that player or players will be a massive indication of how they're going to set up and play. And there's been a lot of rumours and links with a lot of players. They need a striker. I just wonder which sort of player they're after.
Here's Faisal with McCalmont. Docker. Brantman. Bypassing Theoharis for Moragas. The cross deflected. Okamoto. Harrison Steele putting his head in there against Bugaria. No way forward for Osler. Well, they do have Ryan Edmondson, who is currently out. He's had a terrible run with injury, but he was the Joe Marston medalist in the grand final last year with that late equaliser and then a goal to settle things.
It doesn't take a lot of time to turn things around. We've seen the flip side of it happen with the Central Coast Mariners this year, but you're losing 4 or 5 players to getting moves or retiring. You know, you lose a lot of games of experience, but it's very easy to find that again. It's about Mark Jackson now being given the green light from the club to go and get those signings. And I just wonder, because that looks like that's stalling in the background, is that going to stall their progress in getting their #1 targets?
Here's Osler on the charge again. Square ball for Taggart is a good one. Taggart with a really good sighting at goal and an excellent block from Harrison Steele. Well, Mark Jackson did say a couple of weeks ago that they did have the plan in place, that they were waiting for the green light from Mike Charlesworth, the owner, who has been joined by David Slade as a co-chairman of the club. Greg Brownlow has arrived as CEO as well in the last couple of weeks, so there is a bit of movement behind the scenes. We know the club is also still up for sale. Oh, as the ball is overhit for Mizau, who just fell to the ground in despair, I think, as much as anything.
Yeah, not sure if the pass was needed to be hit that firmly into him. But they're the moments, aren't they, Robbie? Getting the ball in. Looks like Brandon O'Neill's got a card somewhere in there as well. But yeah, the movement of the ball's been good tonight. They're getting to this stage of the game where the energy is very low. But it's going to be even lower if somebody doesn't score in the next 10 minutes or so.
Here's Brandon O'Neill. Gets it out wide. Akamoto with Taggart. Again, Harrison Steele is there doing the defending. He wants more from his teammates as well.
Adam Taggart just feeling that inside of his leg there. Possibly a little groin niggle, but it's a good tackle. You've got to go and get close to someone like Adam Taggart. His movement's so intelligent. Sometimes he's moving to allow somebody else to get involved. And that's exactly where a few players were there. You just see Adam Taggart pulling up a little bit limp, but it's a great block there from Steele.
Back in. Just a little correction. It wasn't Brandon O'Neill who got the yellow card. It was Nick Duarte from the Central Coast Mariners. Something that went on in the back play. Kaltak with Docker. What do the Mariners have left in the tank? It's a clever little pass from a Calmont. Theoharis, his first real chance to run at the Perth defence. Down toward the byline, gets the cross in. Faisal. That's a nice little turn, looks for the free kick, gets it off Brandon O'Neill. And this is within Mikael Docker territory.
That was an interesting little turn, and the way he went down, I don't think the Perth Glory players were best pleased about the way he went about it. But Theoharis, this is what I'm talking about, coming off the bench, making an impact, and it was a great little stab into the feet of Faisal. And the little Zidane turn, there's really not much contact there. And it's a little arm there from Brandon O'Neill that catches the gaze of the referee. And This is a very, very dangerous position. Tommy Murchula not happy with him at all.
Not impressed. And now, with 6.5 minutes left in the 90 minutes, with the spectre of extra time looming, and then eventually penalties. The Mariners, who have been second best in this second half. Perth have come storming back, but now Docker, so often the hero for this side. He's set up his own Mariners wall. There it goes. Didn't have the power to beat Ollie Sale, who palmed it away. Faisal against Bugaria. McCalmont was on target at least from Mikael Docker. They've still got it here. Ball in defeat. Brantman surrounded by purple shirts. Everyone back for Perth. Docker's flick intercepted by Taggart. Taggart again with Bugaria.
You can just see that there's zero press because the conditions. It's very difficult to then get out of that press. It's a great pass there from Ollie Sale. But the Mariners, they haven't really got forward a lot of times there. You just felt once they got to that position, just keep going.
Osler now. Misau again, the overlapping run. It's a good ball. Misau, the early cross, the header. Bugaria with a great opportunity that he doesn't take. Now Mileusnic. Moragas fouled by Okamoto.
Well, they don't come much better than that in terms of crosses inside the 6-yard box. It looked to be a really clear opportunity there for Bugaria. It's a great ball in. And now the Mariners, what sort of energy have they got here? What can they muster up to try and find an entry point? The Glory have been all over them in the midfield. They've got to try and skip the likes of Brandon O'Neill in there. Get it beyond him, get it beyond Luke Amos.
Less than 5 minutes left. Amos Long towards Taggart. Docker goes down very easily. Everyone stopped. Taggart and Osler to complain to the referee, who just said keep playing. And now Misau into the area, squares it. O'Neill is there, might yet fall. For Bugaria, doesn't. And the Mariners somehow managed to get it away with Duarte. Now Faisal again. Well defended. There are players with cramp. It's Misau now. There's Tommy Murchula. Decides he doesn't want to play extra time either.
What a run.
Still going. Gets it back from Osler. The cross is a good one in behind. Kaltak. Nobody there though. Oh. Brantman's back heel was for Docker, but no one was following. Murchula again with Taggart. Well defended Kaltak. Well, it's going to be a case of last man standing at the moment. Kaltak on the charge. Did anyone want to go with him? He goes again. Energy sapping conditions. Moragas.
The petrol light's on, isn't it? It's red clearly, and not enough oxygen getting into the brains and the bodies, and it's very difficult now to go and dribble past players. Perth is sitting in nicely here. The Mariners got to try and get the ball into the box. It doesn't really matter how it gets in there. They haven't disrupted that back line or got the goalkeeper Ollie Sale into action. Must be a problem here, is it? No.
I think everyone's just suffering from cramp at the moment. Faisal decides to try and accelerate again. Getting down to the byline, gets the cross in towards Duarte. And he mishit, and it's Murchula. who runs the ball out. Nice turn, Bugaria. And now O'Neill. 15 shots to 10 in favour of Perth Glory, but just 3 on target for each side. And that's given away too cheaply. 90 seconds left. Theoharis. Wide. Tackled out of play. It's a Mariners ball.
Well, they've got to utilise this a little bit better now. I think either team in this situation don't want to put too many men forward, knowing that the game's in the balance. And Mikael Docker, he's played some good passes. That was not one of them, but really his creative nature, he wants to go and play that last pass. He didn't need to.
And now Osler on the charge. The ball in again. Unable to find Adam Taggart. Look at that. Crosses in Perth's favour. That's reflected in the stats throughout the A-League season. And so is that, unfortunately, for Perth. Just 18% have found their mark.
That's good work. Theoharis buying that foul, going in, nipping in at the last moment. Everybody's empty. And if you're a Central Coast Mariners player, you've got to get forward now. This is the moment. This is the moment where a good delivery needs to come in. Good step over from the number 7. And the slide tackle from Okamoto was a little bit late. He could have afforded to stay on his feet, but that's just what it does to you, the fatigue factor. Very difficult.
You can see how he's struggling as well. We've got 5 minutes of stoppage time. 5 minutes, which has begun now. Is there going to be a hero? Will it come from a set piece? Mikael Docker standing over it. Referee Lachlan Keevers wants to have a word to Ollie Sale and Nathan Paul, who are involved in a little bit of... The referee wants to have a word to both of them. And Tommy Murchula is there as well, the two big boys at the back.
I'm not sure they have energy to fight at the moment, these two, the tall timbers, but it's a little bit of argy-bargy, trying to get involved. And if you remember, it was Ollie Sale being caught with that Olympica down in Auckland. So it's something that maybe Mikael Docker can look at here. You've just got to put it across.
Docker it will be to deliver. The set-piece specialist, the Brazilian. It's overhit, badly overhit. And all the way out to a couple of jeers from the crowd as well.
Well, what a shame. It deserved to be a better delivery there from Mikael Docker. He's had a really good season from the set pieces. He's got a good delivery, knows where to put it. But now it looks as though the crowd are going to get another half an hour here.
Ollie Sale waiting till everything is set before he launches it long. Osler's touch cleared by Docker.
Ooh.
Duarte leaping.
Oh, that's nasty. I'm not sure he's even watching the ball there, Robbie.
Straight into Tommy Murchula, who stayed down.
Oh, he's watching. Yeah, he's leading with the elbow or the arm. The forearm just gets him right. Looks like the throat area. He wasn't watching the ball at all. Tommy Murchula was watching the ball, didn't see him coming as he escaped a caution.
Well, and there was a little confusion just a couple of moments ago when the graphic said O'Neill had the yellow card. We were told later it was Duarte, so could have found himself in a little bit of trouble there. Referee Lachlan Keevers taking a generous look at that one. Here is Tommy Murchler back on the ball, and okay, I'm sure neither side really wants an extra 30 minutes in these conditions, even if it is the last game of the season for them.
Such a weird game, because Perth were all over the Mariners, copped 2 goals before half-time, and then they allowed the Glory back into it, and they've created better chances. They've got themselves into more threatening positions, controlled possession, and they actually had a couple of good chances as well right in front of goal late in this second half. So on the balance, you'd have to say that Perth Glory should have taken this game, should have been done and dusted.
Well, they've had more shots, more of the ball. Can they fashion one more opportunity? Akamoto heads back again. They've had 24 touches in the opposition box to just 7 in Perth's favour in this match. That tells you how rarely the Mariners have got the ball into dangerous areas. Well, this is just about it. The last chance, the ball in. Nathan Paul clears. Thea Harris. Heavy touch from Amos. There are plenty of tired legs out there. They're only going to get more and more tired. Mile Uznic. Mile Uznic, the cross in. Parajic Cullen comes and punches it away with Taggart lurking.
So there's more bodies in the background. Players are struggling.
And that's the end of regulation time. So we will be heading into extra time for this Australia Cup playoff match in Darwin. Over 90 minutes plus stoppages. They couldn't be separated. The Central Coast Mariners leading 2-0 at the break. But Perth Glory came charging back into it. Pearman and Taggart with the goals, and now 2 more 15-minute halves of football to see if we can find a winner who wants to play in next season's Australia Cup round of 32. Well, it would have been cruel, Eric, for Perth to go out on this performance, but just when they got it back to 2-2, when you felt that they were going to go on with it, they just took their foot off the accelerator again.
Yeah, you can't say much about the conditions. It's very difficult end of the season going to play in the heat and the humidity, but you feel on the balance of play the chances they had. You know, the danger part of the game is inside the box, inside the 6-yard box, and they had that really good cross in, and it was Bulgaria that came in there, and he could have maybe finished the game off for them. But Taggart had a couple of chances as well. Is one team going to have a cutting edge here? Are they going to be able to finish the play now, or are we going to head into penalties?
Well, we do have an extra couple of substitutions possible now. Central Coast Mariners have only made 4 so far, so they do have Lucas Shikluna and Diesel Harrington on the bench, but neither of those really attacking options. As for what's Faisal doing there? They're taking off the GPS. Doesn't need any more monitoring going on for this one.
Yeah, I think even he came on as a substitute needing a new shirt. That's how hot it is there.
And there's the new Brisbane Raw boss, Michael Valkanis, along with Shane Stefanuto.
Yeah, they must be monitoring this, saying this is going to be a hard game tomorrow night. It's going to be energy zapping. Got to keep the ball in these conditions.
Looking to make a positive start to his reign at Brisbane as well. There you can see Mark Jackson in there laying down the law. He wants more from Faisal. down that side. We've got our two captains are here because we've got to have a new coin toss to see who runs in which direction first. It's like the start of a mini match. And then, of course, if we can't be separated over the next half an hour or so, then we will have penalties.
There's a lot of pointing to the head there from Mark Jackson, just to say to the players, you've got to think and stay on top mentally, because your mind does play tricks on you when you start to get fatigued in the heat. And it's in the key moments in both boxes. Don't make a mistake defensively like they have been, and go and finish that one chance they might be able to manufacture. But you're right, Robbie. It's all going to come down to the likes of Duarte and Theo Harris, Faisal, the players that can dribble and go at Perth Glory to create those chances for them.
There it is. The mentality. Stay focused. The attitude. Who wants it? Looks like there's a change coming for David Strilich's side. I think I saw Kwa Nyo about to come on, and Lucas Shikluna as well. So he comes on to replace Bailey Brantman rather. And it's Mile Usnic who makes way for Kwa. Very exciting. Young player, a winger, a tricky winger. And he'll be looking to take advantage of any heavy legs out there now, of which there are a few. It is Perth that get extra time underway in Darwin. 2-2 with 30 minutes left to play. It's been such a long and frustrating campaign, this 24-25 season for these two sides, particularly for the Mariners. The fall from grace has been spectacular from that treble-winning season. Premiers, champions, and AFC Cup winners. Just the second Australian side to win an Asian competition. We saw how hard it was for them this year in the Champions League Elite, but Sydney FC couldn't reproduce the Mariners' feats in the ACL2. MacArthur will play in that competition next year, having won the Cup. Melbourne City will be in the Champions League Elite.
Yeah, fantastic to see Aussie teams competing.
Okamoto, the ball in, cleared away by Docker. The control, but it falls to Duarte. Good turn. Getting the free kick off O'Neill.
I think he's just pinched a stud there as he fell down. O'Neill sticking to him like glue there, trying to wrestle him for the ball, and just there a little trailing stud. But that's what you want to see from Duarte. Go and get the ball, make something happen. I think since Alu Kual's come off, they haven't had somebody to stretch the game for the Mariners. They're all thinking about coming in that defensive shape and that low block, trying not to allow these sorts of areas to occur.
Bugaria with Osler. Is there an opportunity here? Against Paul, Osler's cross. Gets it back again, the cutback. Oh, what a save! Parades Cullen denied by Bugaria somehow.
Well, that's a classy save, isn't it? That really is from close range. Well, that should have been a goal.
Massive opportunity for Perth. Here is Kwa. Back with Amos, Majeka Dumni, Murchela. Looking back towards Kwa. Wrestling with Shikluna.
Well, they've created so many good chances tonight, the Glory. I think David Zulich will be really happy when he goes back to watch this game with the way that they've been able to retain possession. Yes, the Mariners have allowed them to get into these sorts of areas.
And they come again, the cross. Taggart, oh, it was a good ball on his head. Was it just too high? It looked like he didn't time his jump properly. Was he expecting something from somebody else? He's asking Osler for more support.
That's always the one that, if you're not getting something that you want, you tell your teammates, why didn't you tell me there was more time than what I had? But it was a ball going away from him. I think it was behind him. And I'm not sure if that counts as a shot on target, but Adam Taggart, in those sorts of areas, you can see that the Mariners haven't had a lot of chances, but their percentage of shots on target is a little bit higher. But, you know, where's that going to come from now? We've said it all season long about the Central Coast. The chances come in. How many are they creating? It's not been as many as the Perth Glory. And the law of averages says that something's got to give eventually.
Bugaria. Good ball wide with Osler. He looks up, crosses towards Taggart again. Nathan Paul heads away. Well, the number of crosses that Perth have sent in today. Theoharis turns into trouble. Good challenge, O'Neill. Oh, and Taggart loses his footing. There you see the cross count. Perth have been peppering the really Mariners' central defence, but Paul and Caltac will take that all day.
Yep, and a great little tackle there from Brennan O'Neill. We asked the question about what the energy was going to be like coming into this first bit of extra time. It's been really good. Glory are trying to probe, they're trying to find that angle. Players are moving off the ball. Very different from what the Mariners are doing at the moment. They're sort of sitting in, holding on, hoping and waiting for their one opportunity that might come on that fast break.
Ball forward towards Osler. Bugaria's there. Caltac's head up. Oh. Big up and under from McCalmont. Shikluna gets his head on it with Docker. Well, he went down easily. He's out. Didn't feel there was too much in that challenge.
Well, it's time now for the Mariners to set out how they're going to perform here in this extra time. There's Perth Glory really getting stuck in and fouling and stopping anything the Mariners can get forward with, because they've had this build-up tonight and they've sat in defensively to try and get players behind the ball. I'd love to see them get a bit more width and go forward, a bit more purpose, maybe play a ball over the top. They haven't gone and asked that question of the Perth Glory tonight. They haven't gone and put it into an area that has made Tommy Murchula go and turn and chase something.
Well, Qual was the player that could have brought that to the table. Qua. Bundled over by Docker. Again, a little bit of frustration.
Yeah, good to see Qua get involved early on, coming in as he did against Wellington. Played that really nice pass for Adam Taggart, scoring in the 90th minute or so. And big raps on him. You can see he's a tricky customer.
So a final substitution made by the Central Coast Mariners. Diesel Harrington comes on to replace Faisal, who came on himself in the first half to replace the injured DiPizio. Qua's ball in, it's a good one. Taggart, it comes down, it's in the back of the net. Bugaria on the spin. And Perth, who have come from 2 goals down at half-time, now lead the Central Coast Mariners 3-2.
Yeah, it's more defending from the Mariners with a lot of question marks on it. Nobody came out and took responsibility again. It's great to see Bugaria get himself on the score sheet and put his side into the lead. The ball just swung in. That little ball over from Qua And it was a great little knockdown from Adam Taggart. Usually in those sorts of situations, he's trying to bundle that across the line, but it's Bugaria that belts it into the corner. And that's just classy play from Adam Taggart. And Perth Glory take the lead, and they deserve it.
Well, they had an extra body back there with Diesel Harrington coming on, but couldn't keep it out. The free kick that was given away by Mikael Docker. Just a second goal with Perth Glory for Adam Bugaria, who were only arrived in the A-Leagues this season after a year with Dinamo Zagreb, a season on the bench at Western Sydney Wanderers as well. Finally got his opportunity here. Taggart dragged back by McCalmont, who's looking daggers at the referee.
It's a funny one about Adam Taggart, you know, because he's, I wouldn't say the only option up top there, but, you know, because he's played so many minutes this year and there's so much expectation around him, he's been on the pitch at those last moments in the game where you want your striker to be. Now, in that position there, he's probably run out of gas, and he's just, in his head, identified that somebody else is in a better position here. I'm just going to leave it and chest it down to someone. He's so much more than a goal scorer. And Perth is so lucky that they still have a contract with him. Love to see what he's going to do in the future.
And he may yet play a role with the Socceroos, with a very important window coming up in Perth.
Yep.
Against Japan in early June, and then away in Saudi Arabia, a window that could confirm the Socceroos' place in the World Cup next year. Mexico, USA and Canada, the host nations. Also wonder about the old proverb of not making substitutions when defending a set piece or a corner, because they had bodies back there. Harrington was right there.
Just wondering if that was a forced substitution as well for Faisal, the being substituted.
Shikluna wide with Docker. Ball back for Shikluna. And Brandon O'Neill picks it off. And now Kwa on the charge against Harrington. And that's why Harrington's come back in. He's won the throw as well, because they need someone with pace to go with the Perth substitute. Docker with the Aharis. Theoharis has just turned straight into trouble and gives away the free kick for the foul on Bugaria.
That was fantastic work from Bugaria. Put his body and then put his head down into a position where Theoharis couldn't rotate his body. Another great work in midfield from the substitute.
And I think you're probably spot on about Adam Taggart not having too much left in the tank. It's going to be Nathaniel Blair to come on, another former Western Sydney Wanderer. 4 games for them last season in the A-League. 14 appearances, still looking for his first Perth goal in the A-League, but he scored in the Cup run last season as well, Nathaniel Blair.
Yeah, it's going to be a vital time now to get to this half-time break. I think if the Perth Glory can hang on, then maybe you might see a different strategy coming out for the second half. They've kept possession well tonight. They've controlled this game. They've navigated the conditions better. Everything's pointing in the direction, even though they conceded the 2 goals. And they could have been avoided, really, for the Glory.
Yeah, but they don't mind a high-scoring game. Perth Glory in the Cup as well. 4-2 winners over Brisbane in the playoff last year. 5-4 over Melbourne City. It's one of the highest scoring games ever in the Australia Cup. 9 goals in that one in the round of 32. And then a 3-2 loss to Moreton City Excelsior. in that cup set. We've had another 5 goals here. Amos does well, fouled by Harrison Steele.
I think we've got to be grateful to see it, Robbie. A team that's finished last hasn't come here dragging its feet. Haven't come to Darwin and thinking about, oh, the season's been difficult for us, we've got the wooden spoon again. They had nothing to play for. And yes, they've conceded 2 goals, but they've scored 3 against a side that has been leaking goals as well. But it's so easy to fall into that pattern as a player, as a coach, as a club, that, oh, we're going to lose again. We have that mentality. We concede 2 goals and somehow found their way back into the game. It's been a tremendous response.
Murchler, who inherited the captain's armband when Adam Taggart made his way off. Mizau, long for Qua. Again, it's Harrington across in cover.
Didn't like that one. Bit of a size difference, but he's got to use his attributes now. Qua and go at Harrington, get himself into the box. Is there another goal for Perth Glory?
Well, Perth are familiar with the conditions. Perth are familiar with what it takes in an Australia Cup playoff. Their 5th appearance out of 5 in the playoffs. The other clubs, Newcastle, missed out on the playoffs this year. Is it missed out or avoided the playoffs by, and it looked for a long time like they could be heading for the playoffs as well, but they found some form in the second half of the A-League season, so they'd been at all 4 previous playoffs. Brisbane are back again for a 3rd time. Melbourne Victory have been to 2 playoffs as well in recent seasons, which attests to the struggles they've had. Western United have had 2 appearances in the playoffs. Docker's ball in. Bulgaria completes the clearance. The Mariners and Wellington here for the first time this year. Cross back in is a good one. Back post, Kaltak. Well, he's scored some important goals in his 3 seasons with the Mariners. Now Nathaniel Blair on the charge. Look at this, fresh legs against Moragas. Blair still going. Well, he's run it all the way to the edge of the box before deciding to find some support. Applauded by his teammates. That's the end of the first half of extra time. He's already sucking in the deep breaths. Only been on the field, but a run like that in these conditions, not easy. Half time in extra time. Perth Glory with the crucial goal advantage. They lead by 3 goals to 2, but we still have 15 minutes left to play. Now, the Central Coast Mariners have made all 6 of their substitutions. Perth still have a couple of defensive options on the bench with Murdakudis and Labib. I wonder if at some point David Strelic will decide to just put the brakes on and shut up shop.
Yeah, this is the test. It really is the test now for Perth Glory. Do they sit in? Are they going to be able to hang on for 15 minutes? The Mariners haven't really thrown a lot at them in this later part of the game. I think the message has got to be the same. Just continue to play the same way in terms of playing forward. They've got fresh legs up front. You don't need to go and score the next goal, but don't just come and sit behind the ball and, you know, take cross after cross after cross, because they have some handy players on the pitch at the moment, the Mariners. They've still got Duarte up there that can score. They've got players like Theo Harris who can get on the edge of the box and make a difference.
We might have a look at the goal that separates the two sides then. Here it is, and the substitute Kwa was involved. Taggart's little knockdown, and Bugaria on the turn.
That's the most intelligent goal of the night. What a great ball from Kwa. Just a little dink into Adam Taggart and let him do the rest. And Bugaria does so well that he just thinks, I'll get close to the captain here and hopefully something will fall to me. And it did right inside the box. But again, how do the Mariners let something like that come in aerially with the presence that they have?
Well, there is the match winner as it stands at the moment. Adam Bugaria. Now, is that Kwa who's gone off? Well, David Strilic has done this in the past this season.
He's limping, I think.
Well, he is. So an injury has forced Kwa off. You can see the ankle, right ankle, very heavily strapped. Well, that must be very disappointing for that young man who's wanting to make the most out of every opportunity. But he played his role here.
Certainly did.
This evening. So, Murder-Kudus is into the game. It will end up being a defensive substitution. Looks like Murder-Kudus is coming there into the middle of the park. There he is with a first touch and a strong challenge as well. On Duarte, one for Nathaniel Blair to chase. Now he is a willing runner. He will chase everything all day.
Yeah, it looks as though he's going to do a lot of that himself. We'll just see Luke Amos a little bit further forward because of those substitutions. It's allowed him, and that's a really good key there. If you've got your defensive midfielders stepping forward in that position.
Ball in, back post. Okamoto turns it behind, applauded by Ollie Sale.
Yeah, he's been good today. Been really good defensively and getting forward, getting those crosses in. Now, if Mikel Docker can get this right, get this delivery right, this could be the entry point back into the game for them. There he is there, swinging in another cross that goes unanswered. Nobody there to attack the ball at the far posts.
Docker delivers, good ball as well. There were plenty of yellow shirts there. Bugaria now, Blair leaves it. McCalmont can't bring it under control. Osler. Murder-Kudus over the top for Nathaniel Blair. Flag down for the moment. Moragas across in cover. Blair strikes. Just slipped at the moment of hitting the ball straight at Parage Cullen.
Well, there could be a lot of those opportunities coming the Glory's way because the Mariners have got to open up here and they've got to commit somebody forward. And you're right, Robbie. Blair will run up after absolutely everything, get himself into those positions to shoot, and it was a good shot at goal too.
They've gone to three at the back. The Mariners to try and push Docker further forward down this right-hand side. Moragas down the left. Theoharis just nodding it straight now. Amos with the touch for Blair. Again, there are some lazy touches, not lazy touches, tired touches, I should say. Docker, early ball, well defended, Majeka Dumni.
I'm probably going to contradict myself with this, but a lot of the season we've been asking maybe Docker's better playing at right back, having a settled position in the side, making that back four what it is and being a leader. Is tonight a night that maybe he could have played a bit further forward against the team that was bottom of the table? They've lacked creation, they've lacked getting to that final stage and having quality, getting the pass into the box. Maybe it was a night for him to stay a little bit further forward, I don't know.
Night for De Lima and Faisal ahead of him down that right-hand side. Mizau this evening has shown that he was a very good addition to this Perth Glory side as well in the second half of the season. Harrington. Docker. Still going Docker. Cross towards Duarte. Theoharis. They've got it wide. The cross back in. The header appeals for a handball. Penalty. Another lifeline for the Central Coast Mariners. Mizau, the player penalised.
Oh, wow. Talk about the Australia Cup giving us everything in this playoff match in Darwin. And it was not going to end without some drama, and it was. It was a great ball in there from Moragas, and tried to put his hands away from his body there, Mizau. I know he thinks the ball's about to come off the head right there, trying to get his, but it was going wide. It doesn't look like those arms are in a natural position. He's still trying to argue his case. It doesn't matter. It's going to be a penalty.
Well, he's saying his arms were just by his side in a natural position.
That's harsh. It's a really harsh one.
Lachlan Keevers is sure of what he saw. An arm away from the body. And now, Mikael Docker. Oh, you got your wish there, Eric. He is the furthest forward player now against Ollie Sale from the penalty spot. The penalty taker in this Mariners side, Mikael Docker against Ollie Sale. Saved! Saved by Ollie Sale, and a brilliant save at that. Here it comes again, Shikluna. Ball straight back in. And then Docker just slipping as he looked to bring that ball down. Well, he's furious with himself.
What an outstanding save from Ollie Sale. Using that big frame to get down low. That's a ripper of a save with that upper hand, that right hand coming over there. Beautiful technique to get down and low. It was probably a good height for the goalkeeper, but just getting there with the power that Mikael Docker put on that. Had no right to save it.
So less than 9 minutes to go now. Perth holding on.
Well, you could probably say that was a little bit justified if that was going to be a deciding factor. Mikael Docker put that cross in for the own goal for Majeka Dumbi in the first half and had a chance there to equalise from maybe a fortunate situation. So look at the goals that the Mariners have scored tonight, or could have scored. Hasn't really been out of a creation of a good chance. In front of goal, here we go, big chance. It's not been that night for them again.
When you think that Perth also had that fantastic opportunity before they got the third goal, where Brage Cullen made a brilliant stop to deny Bugaria with an outstretched foot. Docker with the cross towards Duarte. Now Moragas arriving. Murder-Kudus with a foot in there. Nathaniel Blair theatrically looking for the free kick. Referee not interested. Shikluna, nice turn, shot blocked. Anywhere will do for Perth now.
It was really good defending in the first instance from the Glory. Just couldn't get out of there through Brandon O'Neill. Probably had nobody talking to him or keeping up with him to try and control it. But now we're going to see Perth Glory sit in and try and see this game out and not allow things to come through the middle. They will get opportunities outside to cross from distance, but they've been dealing with that.
Mizau will be the happiest player out on the pitch at the moment. Happy to see that one out of play.
Well, he looks spent as well. Well, I wonder what the weight loss is going to be for both sets of players, and it's a great indication, and probably for the teams watching tonight, Brisbane and Wellington tomorrow, it's going to be much of the same in terms of the conditions, the ball, the pitch. It's a nice surface to play on, but the ball is bouncing. You've got to have a little think about how you play out from the back, whether you play out at all.
That was Mikael Docker's first penalty miss of the season. He put one away against Shandong Taishan in the Champions League and one against Perth Glory in the A-League this season. Perhaps Ollie Sale remembering the moment and the homework.
Yeah, and that's, you know, for a keeper playing for the team down the bottom, conceded, what, 56 odd goals this year, or the Perth Glory have in general. It's that's a nice way to finish it off, if it is to be the finish for the Glory, saving a penalty, and it was a really hard shot. He didn't just hit that along the ground. If you don't pick the right way, that's going in the bottom corner. Simple as that.
Moragas again. The Mariners, they have no choice now. They've got 5 minutes left. Otherwise, this disappointing season will just end with one more defeat. Docker's ball in, the nod down towards Duarte. They're appealing for the penalty. Duarte claiming he was being dragged down by Majeka Dumni.
I tell you what, Robbie, that for me, from the first glance, looked as though that could have been more of a penalty than the other one. It really could have been. Duarte was getting forward. Would he have got to the ball? It doesn't matter. If there was contact in the shirt being pulled, that should have been pulled back for a penalty.
Bulgaria trying to pressure Paul. O'Neill's header. Docker for Theoharis. Theoharis still comes inside. Still Theoharis. Deflected. Corner.
That's better. Coming inside on that left foot. We know he can hit them. And it's a good entry point for the Mariners. He needs to get on the ball and start creating passes and having shots. And Docker's been swinging in cross after cross after cross, trying to make up for that penalty miss. Can he get a good delivery here?
It is Docker, deliver near post. Amos with the first header. Back in again. Harrington. Kaltak will keep it alive for the Mariners. McCalmont. Nice ball for Paul. He shoots. Deflected off Majeka Dumni again. And another corner for Mikael Docker.
Well, everybody's back for the Perth Glory. It's a lovely little ball that from McCalmont playing in between.
Docker delivers. Ollie Sale unconventionally punches. McCalmont back to the back post. The header. Well, intense pressure on the Perth goal at the moment. Taken short. McCalmont again, looking to find the angle. The cross in, back post. Again, yellow shirts there. But the referee has spotted a foul by Diesel Harrington, who feels he was being fouled.
Oh, just super work from McCalmont, getting the energy to burst onto that one and put in a really good cross. Just the timing tonight again from the Mariners. They've had a couple of opportunities there. Duarte was another one. Could have headed that one across the goal a bit further. And it was Ollie Sale deciding to punch when maybe he could have collected the ball. So there's a lot going on there in the 18-yard box.
Ollie Sale goes very long. And again, it's a good defensive header from Nathan Paul. Shikluna fouled by O'Neill. He'll take that booking. Confirmation that it wasn't O'Neill booked earlier.
Well, that certainly is. This could be one of the last chances here for the Mariners. Everybody getting forward. Caltech's getting up there. Harrington, they've got to find somebody on the second ball as well. Not just that first one.
Docker delivers. It's still there on the edge of the area. Cleared by Okamoto. Now the break is on. Bugaria. Oh, well. Perhaps that would have been better advised to look for a pass given the time remaining and the fact that Nathaniel Blair was charging off ahead of him. As it stands, we have 1 minute left. More cramp for Moragas at the top of your screen there. Docker. Theoharis accelerates. McCalmont. And Lucas Shikluna with the shot high over the crossbar.
That was a chance. I think that was the last chance there for the Mariners. It was a great little passage of play. Theoharis kept it alive. Now for the Glory. They've got to find this and close the game out. They've got to find someone to win the header or at least put it in the corner. They've got to try and find a way here, the Perth Glory, to not allow the Mariners to come back at them.
Free kick goes the Mariners' way. It's the last chance saloon. Lachlan Keevers has a look at the watch. The Mariners need a goal to send this to penalties. 2 minutes of stoppage time. Shikluna with Theoharis. The ball is a good one for Moragas. No, he just hesitated a moment. He had to try and volley it back into the centre, and the opportunity is gone.
Oh, he had no legs left. That was what it was. It was a great ball from Theoharis, who's trying absolutely everything to try and find something in that backline of Perth Glory. Have been really together through the middle, and they're going to see this one out, I think.
Well, the only thing worse than having to take part in the Australia Cup playoffs at the end of an A-League season is then to lose that match. Perth Glory look like they'll be able to take some consolation from the fact that they were here again for a 5th consecutive year, but for the 2nd year in a row, it looks like they will get the result to take them into the competition proper, unless the Mariners can find something in these final seconds. Pereich Cullen with Shikluna. Here's Harrington. McCalmont. The cross in. Cleared by Murchula. Moragas is down again.
Nobody helping Brian Kaltak get that ball from the Perth Glory bench. They've got to get it in the box here, the Mariners.
It goes long. The glancing header. Harrington looking to get there. He clatters into Ollie Sale. And there it is. Perth Glory have come from 2 goals down at half-time in Darwin to win this one by 3 goals to 2 in extra time after the own goal from Majeka Dumni and then Alu Kual in the first half. Pearman and Taggart took it to extra time before Adam Bugaria, from the assist of Adam Taggart in the 98th minute, have ensured that Perth Glory will be taking part in the Australia Cup round of 32 at the start of the 25-26 season. All finished here at Larrakia Park. A thrilling match of Cup football in the end, as it finishes Perth Glory 3, Central Coast Mariners 2. perhaps. Well, that was the action on the pitch. Here are the stats.